Welcome to the movie tour. My name is Vic. I will be your tour guide through the world of The Princess Bride. Do keep in mind there are definite spoilers on this tour and no food is permitted on the tour cart at any time. So get your face masks on, your swords at the ready, and hop in the tour cart as we witness fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, and miracles in this beautiful and epic film, The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride came out in 1987 and it cost $16 million to make and only made $30.9 million. Theatrically, it didn't do so well. Not as well as they had hoped, but it really thrived on its home video releases. And it all happened about 10 years later. Since then, it has garnered quite a cult-like following. The movie was directed by Rob Reiner, who you may know as Leo DiCaprio's father in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Tell them about the sides you ordered.
The sides, so...
Sides?
Yeah.
Sides? $26,000 worth of sides? What are these sides? They cure cancer?
The sides did cure cancer. That's the problem. That's why they were expensive.
He also did all the voice effects for the rodents of unusual size. The movie starts off with a young and sick Fred Savage in bed. His grandfather gives him a gift, and it's a book.
The Princess Bride by S. Morgenstern, Chapter 1.
Now, this movie is based off of a book that was written by William Goldman, who also wrote the screenplay for the movie, so it's kind of weird that he gave the book a fictional author in the film. He definitely should have just given it to himself, because he deserves the credit. This movie is just wonderful. It's said that Goldman asked his daughters what he should write about. One daughter said a princess, the other said a bride. So he did both, and he wrote The Princess Bride. We meet the lovely Buttercup, played by Robin White. You may also know her as Jenny in Forrest Gump, or in her work in The House of Cards, and more recently as Antiope in Wonder Woman. She lives on a farm and she has a little help around the house. Wesley is a farm boy that does all that she asks for, with the charming words, "as you wish."
Polish my horse's saddle. I want to see my face shining in it by morning.
As you wish.
Wesley is played by Carrie Elwes, who led the first Saw movie, plays Despero in one of my all-time favorite shows, Psych, and more notably led the film Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Good people who have traveled from villages near and far, lend me your ears. That's disgusting.
Now, the two characters eventually fall deeply in love. Oh, and of course, the young Savage does not like the kissing parts either.
What is this? Are you trying to trick me?
Either he already knows about cooties or he knows how much alimony costs. Either way, good call, kid. Now, Wesley has no money for marriage, so he feels the need to leave and seek his fortune. However, Wesley never reaches his destination. He is instead murdered by the Dread Pirate Roberts. The Dread Pirate Roberts is actually based off of a real pirate named Bartholomew Roberts. He was a Welsh pirate that worked in the 18th century and is said to be the greatest pirate of all time. Besides, of course, Captain Jack.
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of.
But you have heard of me.
Buttercup locks herself in her room for days, grief-stricken.
I will never love again.
Aw, poor Buttercup. 5 years later, we meet this guy, Prince Humperdinck, a truly arse of a man.
I would not say such things if I were you.
He is announcing his bride-to-be, Buttercup. And as the Prince of Floryn, he has the right to marry who he wishes, even if the love is not reciprocated. Now, most of the movie was filmed on location in England. The castle they used for the film is called Haddon Hall.
We were shooting in a castle that was built in 1065, I think.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cup goes for a ride on her horse when she runs into these three guys who claim to be circus performers: Vicini, Inigo, and Fezzik. Fezzik knocks her out and they kidnap her. We find out Vicini was hired to start a war, and he makes it seem like Gilder is responsible for the kidnapping. Gilder is a sworn enemy of Floryn.
Once the horse reaches the castle, the fabric will make the prince suspect the Gilderians have abducted his love.
Fezzik and Inigo don't like the idea of kidnapping or killing the girl, but Vicini hired them, so they continue on. We even get a fun rhyming segment here.
Fezzik, are there rocks ahead?
If they are, we all be dead.
No more rhymes now, I mean it.
Anybody want a peanut?
He didn't mean it. As I see it, none of them are dead, as Fred still lays in bed. Nighttime breaks as they set a sail. Indigo keeps looking behind him, worried that they are being followed.
That would be inconceivable.
But they are being followed. Right as they see the boat, Buttercup jumps out and tries to escape. However, she becomes surrounded by the shrieking eels. Now, this is one major difference from the book. In the book, they don't actually use these fantastical creatures. They just use sharks instead. Fezzik pulls her out of the water, and they continue to try to outrun their uninvited guest. Now, despite Fezzik's almost superhuman strength, Andre the Giant had back problems, and at the time of filming, this prevented him from actually lifting anything heavy. Vicini isn't worried about the follower though, because they have reached the Cliffs of Insanity. The outfit worn by the uninvited guest was designed with the legendary Zorro in mind. The costume designer thought it worked perfectly for the character, with the exception of Zorro's cape. It didn't really seem to fit with the character, so they cut it.
Inconceivable! You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
It actually does. Every time Vicini uses the word inconceivable, it's in a correct context, so technically Indigo is in the wrong actually here. Vicini, Fezzik, and Buttercup all leave Indigo behind to deal with the man in black, and no, it's not Johnny Cash. The Spaniard helps him up the cliff and tells him his life story. Indigo is searching for a man with 6 fingers. This man ordered a sword from his father many years ago and demanded to pay only a portion of the price. When the father denied, the 6-finger man killed him. The weird thing is that he didn't even take the sword after, because, Indigo still has it. This becomes Indigo's life goal, to find the man and seek out his revenge. And this is also where we first get this gem of a line.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next scene we get is the most incredible scene of the movie. It's an amazing swashbuckling event. Westley and Indigo have a great sword fight. This is often described as the greatest sword fight in modern times. In order to create this masterpiece that is not unlike a well-choreographed ballet, Cary Elwes and Mandy Patinkin had to train for months with Peter Diamond and Bob Anderson, who are known for their work on Indiana Jones and James Bond and Star Wars. The two spent as much time as they could to master the scene, and it took the better part of a week to film all of the scene. The fight ends with Wes knocking Indigo over the head and besting his opponent. Next we come across the gentle giant. He puts him in a sleeper hold, knocking him unconscious. Finally, it's Vicini's turn. The man in black challenges him to a battle of wits involving 2 cups of wine with some iocane powder going into one of the goblets. Iocane powder, by the way, is a fictitious substance made solely just for this story. The man in black makes a Sicilian pick a goblet and drink. The short, bald man falls over and dies. Vicini, by the way, is played by Wallace Shawn. Now, the part was originally going to go to Danny DeVito, and Wallace was so nervous knowing he was the second choice for the role that he felt so much pressure to do a great job. But to be honest, it would be hard to see anyone but Wallace playing the part. He is perfect, even though he isn't really a Sicilian. It turns out that both goblets were poisoned. The man in the mask states that he built up a tolerance to the poison over the last couple of years. The masked man admits to Buttercup that he is in fact the Dread Pirate Roberts. Cary Elwes was actually injured shortly before filming this scene. He had been in an ATV accident and broke his big toe. He didn't even want to tell Rob Reiner about it, as he thought it would just get him fired. Buttercup tells the pirate that he killed her true love, and she pushes him down the hill. He screams out,
As you wish.
Oh, my sweet Wesley.
This is definitely a game that my sisters and I played as kids. We'd go to the park and we roll down the hill screaming out, "As you wish." It's a very fond memory of mine, of fun and simpler times. As he screams us out, Buttercup realizes who he is. It's Wesley. She goes tumbling down after him. She also grows a mustache in the fall somehow and manages to shave it off by the time she reaches the bottom. Obviously, it's just a stunt double. The two enter the fire swamp to evade Humperdinck's advances. Wesley lets his love know that he became the pirate's apprentice and eventually took place of the man himself. He held onto the name Dread Pirate Roberts because it is way scarier than the name Dread Pirate Wesley. The fire swamp was actually created on a soundstage. Here they dodge fire flying out of the ground, and they get sucked into some lightning sand. After emerging from the sand, they get attacked by the ROUSs, the rodents of unusual size. For this practical effect, they made costumes that would fit actors of a very small stature. Also, look at this, a crew member made it in the shot. Now he is officially in the movie, and he is a jerk for not helping Westley fight off those rats. Luckily, Wes was able to fight him off on his own. They emerge from the fire swamp, but Humperdinck and his men have caught up to them. The prince lies to Buttercup, saying if she comes with him, Westley will not be harmed. They ride off, and Westley notices that the six-fingered man is the one who's arresting him. Count Rugen knocks him over the head. So many people take hits to the head in this movie, and at that time, Tylenol doesn't exist. I feel so bad for them because, man, I need my drugs. When I get a headache, I am useless. We see Albino taking care of Westley, and yes, this is actually the character's name, Albino. Wes was taken to the pit of despair where Count Rugen has created the Machine, a torture device that he hooks Westley up to by suction cups. We then get a dream sequence where Buttercup is already married to Humperdinck. She wakes up hating it all. The whole idea of marrying him just disgusts her. She tells him that she would rather die than marry him, and she will kill herself if he makes her do it. Humperdinck offers to send some ships to find and alert Westley of her love. Buttercup agrees as she truly believes that their love is true. Rugen and Humperdinck go for a walk. Here is where we find out that Humperdinck is actually the one who hired Vizzini to kidnap Buttercup in the first place. He's the one that wanted her dead, and he's the one that wants to start the war with Gilder. Count Rugen uses the machine on Westley on the lowest setting, sucking 1 year of his life out. Hey, at least he came out of this one with all of his limbs. The man had to cut off his own leg in the movie Saw. The day of the wedding has arrived, and Humperdinck orders that the security goes on lockdown, emptying out the thieves' forest. Indigo is in the forest and is ordered to leave, but the drunkard refuses. Luckily, Fezzik was hired to be on part of the Brute Squad responsible for emptying the forest, and he protects him. He helps him regain his health, and he lets him know of Vizzini's death and where to find Count Rugen, the six-fingered man. They want to go after the man, but they know that the two of them would be no match for all of the guards at the gate. They need the man in black who defeated them, so they go to look for him. At this point, Buttercup learns that Humperdinck never sent the ships to Westley, and she calls him this.
That is only because you are the slimiest weakling ever to crawl the earth.
I would not say such things if I were you!
Humperdinck becomes so angry that he runs to the pit of despair and puts the machine on the highest setting. The screams, they reach out across the kingdom to Indigo, who somehow knows exactly who the scream belongs to. He also somehow knows that his true love is Buttercup. I'm not sure how he can know that information. They come to the woods where they believe the sound to have originated. They run into the albino with a wheelbarrow, and they ask him for the man in black's whereabouts. And Fezzik tries to jog his memory by hitting him on the head, but he hits a little too hard, knocking him unconscious. Again, I feel bad for this guy. He does not have Advil waiting for him when he wakes up. Indigo uses his sword to ask his dad to help him and guide the sword to where he needs to go. The Spaniard walks right into a tree. How lucky can he be? This is the exact tree he needs to lean on to find the pit. They enter and they find Westley dead. They need a miracle. Indigo and Fezzik take Wesley's body to Miracle Max, played by Billy Crystal, or who you may know him as
Mike Wazowski.
That's right, Miracle Max is also a green little monster, Mike Wazowski. Miracle Max does not want to help them because they only have $65 to offer, but Max lets them in anyway. Max finds that Westley is only mostly dead, not all dead, and there's a difference. He asks Westley what in life is worth living for. He answers true love. Max pretends to hear to blave or to bluff, but his wife Valerie comes in and yells at him for denying that it is true love. By the way, William Goldman actually named these characters Max and Valerie after his own parents. Valerie says that Max lost his confidence when Prince Humperdinck gave him the sack. Indigo tells Max that Westley is actually Buttercup's true love, and if Max can bring him back to life, it will in fact ruin Humperdinck's wedding. Since Max hates Humperdinck so much, he obliges and decides to make him a pill covered in chocolate.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle.
During the scenes with Billy Crystal, Rob Reiner actually had to leave the set due to laughing so hard at Crystal's delivery of the character. Inigo and Fezzik feed the pill to Westley, and it works. It brings him back to life with some major side effects. He can talk, but he can't really walk, and he's nearly paralyzed. The wedding is half an hour away, so they need to act quick. So they go over the situation and review what they have on them. The gate is guarded by 60 men, and they need to steal the girl, kill Count Rugen, and escape with their lives. Now, with their very few resources at their disposal, they come up with a plan. The wedding ceremony begins, and we see a dark silhouette. It's Fezzik being rolled up under the cloak. They light him on fire, and all of the cars run everywhere in terror. Humperdinck rushes the wedding along as he hears the commotion outside. He is worried there may be a problem.
Man and wife. Say man and wife. Man and wife.
The three heroes get inside of the castle and almost immediately run into Count Rugen. Montoya says his famous line.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
And Rugen books it. Inigo chases him to the room that's locked. Fezzik puts down the paralyzed Westley and goes to open the door for Inigo. When Fezzik returns, Westley is gone. Meanwhile, Inigo chases Rugen through the castle to a banquet hall where he pulls a dagger from his boot and throws it at Inigo, hitting him right in the stomach. We cut back to Buttercup, who puts a dagger up to her heart as she doesn't want to live anymore, knowing that she married someone who is not her true love.
There's a shortage of perfect breasts in this world. It would be a pity to damage yours.
He clearly hasn't seen mine. Huh? Montoya pulls the blade out of his gut and attempts to regather himself. He recites his mantra over and over again. He pulls himself together and seems to be nearly at full force again. He stabs the man in his shoulders, cuts his face, and tells him to offer him money and anything he asks for him. He tells Rugen he wants his father back and stabs him in the stomach. The Count falls and dies. Buttercup confesses that she is now married to Prince Humperdinck. Westley points out that if she didn't say I do, it didn't happen. I'm not sure how Wes could have known that. He wasn't anywhere near the wedding when it happened. Humperdinck enters the room and he challenges Westley to a battle to the death, but Westley says no, to the pain. He describes how he will destroy the man, but he will leave him his ears so that every shriek and every cry uttered by people who see his hideousness will echo in his perfect ears. Wesley stands and tells Humperdinck to drop his sword. The terrified Humperdinck does what he's told, and then he sits in a chair as Buttercup ties him to it. Wesley says he wants Humperdinck to live a long life alone with his cowardice. They hear Fezzik calling for Inigo from the courtyard. Fezzik has found 4 white horses. Buttercup jumps down, and Fezzik catches her. Now that Inigo has fulfilled his life's purpose, he isn't sure what he'll do for the rest of his life. Wesley asks him if he's ever considered piracy. They jump down and all 4 ride away on the horses. Wesley and Buttercup kiss, and at this point, the grandson seems okay with it now. Looks like he's all grown up. Well, almost. Grandfather tells him to go to sleep, and Savage says he could come back tomorrow and read it again. The grandfather turns and says,
As you wish.
The movie ends there. Around 2010, there was a story that broke about a potential remaking of the film, but there was such a huge backlash from fans that we never heard anything about it again. This is a truly amazing classic that can never be duplicated or remade without making a lot of people upset. So yeah, there's no need for a sequel either. Let's just leave the work alone and let it be what it truly is, a masterpiece. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end. My name is Vic Velasquez. You have seen my video. Now prepare to like, subscribe, and share. No, but seriously, please do subscribe if you like the content because, well, I really need this movie tour job. If I lose it, I might become
unemployed in Greenland!